Vaughan Gething is the new leader of the Labour Party in Wales and almost certainly our next First Minister. It's a historic win, the first black leader in Europe in modern times, but his campaign has been dogged by controversy after it emerged a man convicted of environmental offences donated £200,000 to get him elected. We'll hear from him and the leaders of Plaid Cymru and the Welsh Conservatives. Welcome to Politics Wales. Bore da, good morning. Vaughan Gething is set to become Wales's First Minister next week. With a narrow margin of 51.7% of the vote, the Economy Minister beat his rival, Jeremy Miles, the Education Minister, to become the leader of Welsh Labour. But the campaign was overshadowed by controversy after Mr Gething received a donation of £200,000 from a company whose owner has twice been convicted for the illegal dumping of waste. A little earlier, Vaughan Gething was here, and I began by asking him if he regretted taking the money. It's not a good look, though, is it? You'll be going into this new job with these questions hanging over you. David Neil, this company, he's been twice convicted for environmental offences. You lobbied the regulator on the company's behalf twice, and then it emerges during the campaign that they've put in a planning application.
No, but the way that...
Pay the money back.
Hang on, and the second point, because you asked me 2 points...
Would earn your party and the public's trust back, potentially, by paying this money back, will you? What mistakes have you learned, looking back now? You know, there were no interviews beforehand, but you can speak candidly now, having given evidence. You know, what are the big mistakes, or what are the big take-homes that you have after giving that evidence? It felt to me when I was watching it that it was very rushed, you know, some of the councils saying, you know, that we haven't got time to talk about this or haven't got time to talk about that. Does that not make the case in itself for a Wales COVID inquiry, really to get into the depth of the detail that's necessary to get the proper answers on this?
I think...
And that was the new Welsh Labour leader, Vaughan Gething, speaking to me earlier. Now, joining me in studio now is leader of the Welsh Conservatives. Thank you both so much for joining me this morning. Let's start with you, Andrew, because you're sat next to me. You've said that the donations scandal with Vaughan Gething raises serious questions of his judgment. Should he pay the money back? What do you expect your relationship to be like with Vaughan Gething? I must say I've enjoyed watching your fiery relationship. Piorweth from Plaid Cymru in our Bangor studio, Andrew R.T. Davis here in Central Square in Cardiff. Thank you both so much for your time. Plenty more to talk about on this over the months ahead, I'm sure. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Now, Mark Drakeford is still First Minister for a few days yet and will be taking his last session of FMQs on Tuesday before tendering his resignation to the King. His departure marks the end of an era for a politician who's been at the heart of Welsh devolution from the start, from Rhodri Morgan's top advisor to the top job. James Williams, formerly of this parish, of course, has been looking at his political legacy for a Radio Wales documentary, interviewing a range of politicians and commentators, including Gordon Brown. He began by asking the former Labour Prime Minister to describe his relationship with Mark Drakeford. And there'll be much more on Mark Drakeford's legacy in a special hour-long documentary presented by James Williams on BBC Radio Wales at 6 o'clock on Tuesday night. Tune in or listen back on BBC Sounds. And that's it for this week from Politics Wales. My thanks to my guests and to you for watching, as always. If you'd like to get in touch, it's BBC Politics Wales at bbc.co.uk. We'll be back next Sunday at 10, but until then, have a great week. Will back.